What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a crazy long time since we posted an actual real long-form YouTube video, but today we are here with this BMW S63 out of an absolutely beautiful F10 M5, and I say beautiful because it is a very rare spec, white on Sakhir Orange interior, and yes, get ready for this, it is a 6-speed manual. So I'll B-roll some shots of that car in right over here. Absolutely stunning. It has 3-piece HRE wheels. And unfortunately, it came to us to have some basic maintenance done, including the rod bearings. And well, when we pulled the drain plug on the oil pan, didn't look pretty, and crazy glitter bomb went off. So while I would love to tell you on this intro shot what's going on and what that failure is, we don't know. That's why we are where we are now with this engine. We pulled it out of the vehicle on the actual subframe, got it onto an engine table, and then disassembled the harness, the turbos, the downpipes, the brackets, the AC compressor, power steering pump. Pretty much have all the accessories completely stripped off this block with the exception of the valve covers, the oil pan, our front harmonic balancer, our crank bolt obviously, and then our little feed for our oil over here on our passenger side valve cover. So in today's video, we're going to completely strip this down bare bones. We're going to be doing an engine build on this one. And the most important thing that we need to do first is measure. I always preach in my videos and make sure you measure before you send your block or heads out to a machine shop. Unless you're doing it in-house, you still should measure. But we need to determine if we need to run sleeves in this block. So we don't know if we're going to be able to use drop-in pistons or if we're going to have to sleeve the block. And I'll probably touch upon this in another video when we document everything going back together. But this block is coated, the walls are coated. We can't simply just bore it out a 1/2 mil and drop in 1/2 mil oversized pistons, which I believe are going to be 89.5. You can't do that. The second you go in here, unless you're going to do a quick hone just to clean it up and you're within stock bore pistons, anytime you go oversized on this block, you need to sleeve the block with iron sleeves or have that coating reapplied, but the cost to have that coating reapplied is astronomical, so it is actually both efficient and economically viable to just go ahead and sleeve the block. So let's get into it. The first thing we're going to do is start with our valve covers, and then we're going to move on to getting our chains removed, oil pan, oil pump, all that fun stuff. And in today's video, you'll see us knocking out the rods and pistons so we can take those measurements that we need. Let's get cracking. Okay, so we got our valve covers off, we have our cam gears off, we have our timing chains released from our cams. Now we're going to spin this bad boy upside down, release the oil pan, take off as much hardware as we can from the bottom of the block, or in this case, from our vantage point, the top of the block. Then we're going to spin it back up top so that it is facing the same way you see it now, and then we're going to work on moving our heads. And what we'll do before we get to that point, we'll do a close-up shot so you guys see exactly what's going on here. All right, check it out. We finally have the oil pan off. So we got a pretty nice look at our bottom end here. So for those of you that don't know, this carries 2 oil pans. You have your lower oil pan, your upper oil pan, and obviously your oil pump sits over here toward the back of the block. So what we're going to do now is we're going to spin this bad boy back up top. Let me do that on video so you guys can take a look. Try to go nice and easy because this is going to make a mess. And this is going to allow us to release. Yeah, look at all that oil. Some of our head bolts while we let some of this oil just drain into the bottom here. Come take a look. So here we have our passenger side, bank 1 cylinder head. We have our intake cam, our exhaust cam. High pressure fuel pump sits over here. And then over here we have our bank 2, the driver's side, cylinders 5 to 8. We have our exhaust cam, intake cam, high pressure fuel pump sits over here. So we're going to work on releasing our head bolts real quick. Let some of this junk, all this fluid drain into the bottom of our oil pan, catch can at the bottom here. And then we'll work on the bottom end. We'll pull off our main caps and start taking the caps off our connecting rods. And then we'll be able to pick our heads up, move on, and pull the crank out and knock these piston and rods out. Stay tuned. All right, so we got both cylinder heads removed from the block. Now what we're going to do is spin this bad boy upside down, and we're going to pull the crank out. I'm going to try to get this camera closer so you guys get a cleaner shot of what that entails and what it looks like. So let's pull this crankshaft out. All right, so now we have our block turned upside down the other way now. We release, before we can pull the crank out, we need to remove our pistons and rods. So we're working on, I believe, it looks like, I'm all out of orientation here. This is the back of the block. So we're working on numbers 1, 2, cylinders 3, 4, 3, and 7. So far, these walls look good, but again, we're going to have to measure them to determine if we're going to have to sleeve this block or not. You can actually see somewhere on the thrust axis at the very top toward the deck. But again, I'm going to have to use tools to properly measure. Which one is this? Is it good?
Closer to you.
All right, so that's cylinder number 3.
This wasn't even on, just so you know. Came off.
Yep, guys, rod bearings are super important, and I think I found where some of this metal material came from.
This one too. No, look at this one.
Yep, definitely
These were
somewhere.
seated.
Well, no, it could have gotten released from the gun when you use the gun, but we'll do some close-up shots, guys. But oh man, yep. Important to make sure you do your rod bearings on your S63. All right, let's drop that rod toward the deck. Push it up, rather. Shouldn't say drop, push. That's right.
Hold on.
Clear the crank.
Yeah.
Okay, push.
Thanks.
Oh, I feel it. It's giving birth. You want to grab the rubber mallet? Use the. You can use the end. Just give it a little left tap.
I was going to because I can't get in there.
Little left tap. There we go. Piston numero 3 is out. Let's see what this shell looks like. Do me a favor, keep these shells with the corresponding caps and rods. Yeah, wow. Look at this, guys.
These are like sliding right out.
Look at that. Wow. 40,000 miles in this engine, by the way, guys. 40,000 miles and wow. Yeah, we're going to have to do a separate shot up closer, maybe another video. All right, let me just, yeah, hold on. Let me just drop this shell back into the rod. We should start making those little whiskey tumblers. They go for a lot.
You're weird.
I'm weird. How am I weird?
I already told you
All right, let's do. Hold on. If you notice, by the way, guys, she's using a rubber mallet to assist in getting that rod and piston to come toward the top of the deck. Try to avoid using pry bars or screwdrivers or extensions. It's a bad habit of using metal inside there when you never should. You want to use something that is not going to mar a rubber mallet.
Unless
And
the
don't-
engine's completely comatose.
Yeah, and don't, yeah, which this is not. And don't hit it with another hammer, not even another mallet. Just give it a little left tap.
I'm not even left tapping it. I'm just pushing it
Yeah.
because my hand's going to get in there.
Wow. You can see the discoloration on this piston too. I can compare this to an S55 that had 50,000 miles on his engine.
I don't remember.
And we didn't have that discoloration from heat. So oil changes are important, guys. This guy was not the original owner, so he took care of it, but previous owner probably did those 10,000 mile a year specials.
That BMW recommends.
Where do you want to put these suckers? You know what? Let's put them, yeah, put them over there for now. All right,
The other cap.
number 7.
Bolt is over there.
Yeah, I see it. Hit it with your hand.
Just trying to make sure I have it properly. In. There we go.
Light. These pistons are extremely light. Carbon buildup, that's normal. All right, let's go back to fast forward mode and let's get the rest of these rods and pistons out. All right, so now that we have all 8 connecting rods and pistons removed from the block, what we're going to do is go ahead and release our girdle, our main caps rather, and we're going to pull this crankshaft out. All right, so we have everything fully disassembled. Come and take a look, guys. We have basically a bare block here. I have it sideways like this. It's going to be easier to show you both the bottom end and then the top at the same time. So if we take a look here, you will see we have the bottom of our block. I have the mains on 5 and 4 removed. Mains didn't look too bad, but you can actually see, so this discoloration that you see in the block, this is actually sludge buildup. And the primary reason that you see that discoloration from that oil is heat. And the reason why you have an issue with heat is not because the car was necessarily ran hard. That oil change interval was, I don't want to say not done properly, because, you know, the dealer is saying 10,000 miles. Everyone's mechanic, cousin, brother, sister has their own opinion. But in reality, if you have an F10 M5 or an F90 M5, right, any V8 twin turbo application, and you drive the car hard or you're running 85, you want to make sure that you knock out those oil changes. In my honest opinion, 3,000 miles, E85, 2,500. And although it might get tedious and expensive to change that oil every 3,000 miles, it's the best insurance policy that you can give yourself to ensure that you don't have an issue with not only sludge, but that oil thinning out and spinning one of these bearings. So now what I'm going to do for you is rotate this engine on the stand this way so we can take a look up top. All right, now, our stock bore on the S63 is going to be 89 millimeters. It's probably going to be hard to see in this shot. I'll try to add some light when I do my edit on this shot, but you can actually still see the coating that's applied. There's no major damage to any of these walls so far. And I do apologize. I know I had mentioned in the beginning of this video that we would actually take measurements. That is unfortunately for part 2. You're going to have to stay tuned. We're going to drop our dowel bore gauge down in here and measure our out of round to determine if we have to sleeve the block or not. Aside from that, we have our cylinder heads over here. Camshafts came out. They look mint. I'm not too concerned about the head, and, you know, a story for a different video, but these stock heads, stock valve train components, followers, valves, our valve springs, these cams, you know, these will flow for 1,000 horsepower all day. So we're going to use the stock head. We're going to obviously do a full disassembly, clean it, deck the head, in addition to decking the block. But as far as the valve train components go, we will most likely retain the stock valve train parts. Now behind me here, let me show you all of the parts that we pulled out from this engine. So on my left or your right, we have our 8 connecting rods and pistons. And again, part 2 is where we'll get in depth with our actual failure. But it looks like these rod bearings started to take a poo-poo. It didn't necessarily spin any of these bearings, but the color of our material is consistent with the color on our shells, in addition to the wear that we see. We have a ton of hot spots, and up on our tangs over here on these shells, it's gone. So rod bearings are important. You want to make sure that you consider this a service item on your S63. We have our crankshaft over here. We will measure this crank, fully inspect it before we reinstall it, but so far everything on our crank looks good. We do have slight discoloration, which again is from heat, but all things considered, obviously pending our measurements, the crankshaft is in good condition. We have our main caps over here. Our main started to show somewhere, nothing super crazy, but again, you can see some of the hot spots here on this actual bearing shell over here. Again, while I would love to give you a definitive answer, we've got some sludge here too on this cap. Heat, it all comes down to heat. You want to make sure you do those oil changes, but the cap side looks good. So that's a plus. And then we have some of our components are going to be replaced in relation to our timing chain and guide rails. We are not going to reuse this. This is going to go straight in the trash. We have our harmonic balancer here. We have our intake and exhaust cam gears, which are in good condition. I'm going to have camera lady zoom in real quick. You can actually see some of this metamaterial got baked in here on our bank 1, I believe. Yes, our driver's side. we have a lot of material that just embedded itself into this gear. Not entirely sure why only on the intake on bank 1, but the intake and the exhaust cam gear had some material embedded in there. We have our rear timing cover, we have our front cover, we have our upper oil pan, lower oil pan, our oil pump, we have our valve covers out of the shot on the floor. So now we are going to move on with measuring. That's going to be part 2. And we're going to let you know if we're going to sleeve this block or if we are not going to sleeve this block and just simply drop in stock bore pistons. So as always, stay tuned and we'll see you guys in the next part of this video.